Hello. We're all of a certain age here at Homegrown Veg. We've all been around the block a few times. As kids, we were always told, don't eat green potatoes, they're poisonous. Then in the next breath, we were told, you should be okay if you cut off the green bits. Can you remember being told that as a child? Can you? Well, we're all still here, so it must have been sound advice. I did some research in a video a few years ago that's worth another look about eating green potatoes and what effect, if any, that could have on you. Check this out. I hope you can see this. These potatoes are turning green. That's obvious, isn't it? If you can see it, it's obvious. Potatoes are turning green. But what isn't obvious is that the green part of these potatoes is toxic. It's poisonous. And what causes that? I think you probably know, don't you? It's because the potato has broke surface and become exposed to daylight, to sunlight. And that part of the potato has turned green. If you take it out, hope you can see this, that part of the potato hasn't turned green. That's the part that was still covered by soil, it was still in the dirt. It's just the top half of the potato that's turned green. So that part of the potato is the part that contains the toxins, contains the poison. But how do we know it hasn't spread from top to bottom? How do we know it hasn't gone right through the potato? If you're like me, I expect you've had these before and you've had to make a decision. Can you use them? Would you take a chance? Or do you bin them? My guess would be that if you've got lots of small ones like this, but you've also got lots of other good decent sized potatoes, you'd probably bin these. But if you're a bit desperate, you might want to cut the bottoms off. Eat the bottom bit, just bin the top bit. Have you ever done that? I'm sure you have. I have. Let me show you this guy. This guy maybe take a bit more thinking about. Size of that potato. He's a big one, isn't he? You'd be disappointed when you turn him over and find out he's going green as well. You're not wanting to throw this guy away. You wanted to eat this guy, but he's got this green bit. Well, it would cut off. And you could eat the bit that isn't green. Take a chance. Well, what exactly are you taking a chance with? What's likely to happen if you eat green potatoes? Well, the toxin in green potatoes is solanine. Solanine poisoning is primarily displayed by gastrointestinal and neurological disorders. Whoa! That's a mouthful. Symptoms include nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, stomach cramps, burning of the throat, nightmares, headache, dizziness, itching, thyroid problems, and inflammation and pain in the joints. Wow, are you going to risk all of that just for a piece of potato? Are you going to risk that? Or are you going to be ultra safe and just throw any potato that has a little bit of green on it? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you know anybody that's eaten green potatoes? pieces of green potato. Do you know anybody that's had any of those symptoms? I mean, there are more severe cases. In severe cases, there's also hallucination, loss of sensation, paralysis, fever, jaundice, dilated pupils, hypothermia, and in worst case scenario, man, that's bad enough, but in the worst case scenario, death. Come on, death? I've never heard of anyone that's died from eating green potatoes. So what I did before I started to produce this video, I've done a little research. I needed to be a bit more up to speed on the consequences of eating green potatoes, and had anybody ever done it, and what had happened to them. So all the symptoms that I've just given you, that was straight from Wikipedia. Okay, that was straight from Wikipedia. But I also searched the internet to see if there's any recorded instances where people had actually eaten green potatoes. So I'm just going to put some text up now. I don't want to read this out to you. You'll need to read this text yourself. Form an opinion. I'll come back to you after having a cup of tea, and then we'll discuss this a little further. Okay. So, as you can see, people have suffered these symptoms. People have died through eating green potatoes. But I think it's fair to say, in every instance, there were underlying issues that caused that. If you're starving, then you'll eat anything. And you'll eat any quantity of anything. I mean, people have been known to eat leaves and bark off trees, anything that they can find. When you're starving, you'll eat it. And I suppose green potatoes, yeah, you'll eat green potatoes, won't you? And if you're starving, you'll probably eat lots of them. So eating lots of green potatoes, starting from a position where all your natural defences are low because you're starving, well, you read it, you saw what happened. But you're never going to be in that position. You're never going to be in that position, hopefully, that we're starving, that we have to eat quantities of green potatoes. This is the most we're ever going to see, I think. The most you're ever going to see. Cut these pieces off, I think. You're not going to be eating a lot, are you? And if you're a young person, you know, if your natural defences haven't built up yet to that of an adult person, yeah, you wouldn't want to be eating any quantity of green potatoes. But I think cutting that off, eating the rest of that potato would be perfectly acceptable. These guys, because they're so small, I'm not going to fight with those. Those are going into the bin. I could actually keep those and probably use them for seed potatoes for next year. I don't think there's any issue with that. If there is, let me know. If you've had issues with green potatoes, let me know, and we can discuss it further through the comments section of this video. So what do you do when you find green potatoes? When you find potatoes that have broken the surface, been exposed to daylight and have turned green, what do you do? Do you cut the green off them and eat them, or do you bin them? What do? You tell me. If you actually cut the green off and eat the rest of the potato, then you're the living proof that there isn't an issue doing that, that you can do that, and it's perfectly safe to do that. So tell me if that's what you do. I'm sure the rest of the subscribers and visitors to the channel would like to know that, would like that reassurance that simply by cutting the green off and eating the rest, you'd be perfectly safe. If that's not the case, tell us that as well, because I'm sure we'd like to know that as well. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. These are going in the bin. This guy will go on the veg rack. The next time we have potatoes, this will be one of the first to go. That green bit comes off, we'll cook the rest. Okay, so if I stop putting videos up over the next week or two, you know I've poisoned myself by eating this potato. Okay, stay safe in the garden. Don't have nightmares. This is Homegrown Veg, signing out.